it's interesting you're trying to derail my questions by calling me an anti-Semite, which you are.
I did not.
Of course you are. And rather than be honorable enough to say it right to my face, you are in a sleazy feline way implying it, or just asking questions about the Jews. I'm not asking questions about the Jews. There's nothing to do with Jews or Judaism. It has to do with the foreign government.
Isn't Israel controlling our foreign policy? That's not about the Jews?
You said, I'm asking you...
And by the way, you're the one that just called me, I think, a sleazy feline. So let's be clear.
It's sleazy to imply that I'm an anti-Semite, which you just did.
No, I just said, why is that the only question you're asking? You answer it. Give me another reason. If you're not an anti-Semite, give me another reason why the obsession is Israel.
I am in no sense obsessed with Israel. We are on the brink of war with Iran. And so these are valid questions.
But you're not asking about Iran or the Ayatollah.
If I can finish, you asked me why I'm obsessed with Israel.
Yep.
3 minutes after telling me that when you first ran for Congress, you elucidated one of your main goals, which is to defend Israel.
Yes.
And I'm the one who's obsessed with Israel. I don't see a lawmaker's job as defending the interests of a foreign government, period. Okay. Any government, including the ones that my ancestors come from. So that's my position. That does not make me an anti-Semite. And shame on you for suggesting otherwise. And I mean that. And that's low, and you know it's low.
So I was up half the night watching clips from the Tucker Carlson Ted Cruz extravaganza.
That was fun.
That was fun.
And agreeing with Tucker Carlson is weird.
I think I needed a lift, and that was it. Boy, that was really weird.
Yeah, it was fun to watch them argue. I mean, Steve Bannon and Tucker Carlson and Laura Loomer, and a few others are like
Margaret Taylor Greene.
Madge Three Toes. It's like, I don't like agreeing with people about no war, but hey,
we'll take what we can get.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. I mean, you actually wrote on Blue Sky, if Iran develops a nuclear bomb, it'll become the 10th member of an exclusive club of nations with nukes, some controlled by hotheads, we know a few, warmongers or tyrants. So who has the wisdom and moral authority needed to stop Iran's nuclear program without risking massive escalation of violence in the Middle East? Excellent question, sir. Do you think anybody?
Well, I don't know. This is one of the most difficult foreign policy issues that any president or any world leader would have to face. We are missing a sense of wisdom, of smart voices, of people that can handle a specific situation without creating something far, far worse, which is, I think, what we're on the verge of. We're really at a fork in the road. Either Iran will be allowed to develop its nuclear program, which would be a disaster, or they won't. And if they're not, and that happens by force, which maybe it should, we can't have Khomeini controlling nuclear weapons. That's really kind of out of the question. How to deal with that, though, without causing an absolutely uncontrollable situation of prolonged violence in the Middle East is something I'm not sure of. And one of the things I've been talking about, we need a Winston Churchill, we need a JFK during the Cuban Missile Crisis.
I was just thinking that, yeah.
And there are people out there probably that could do that would have the judgment, the wisdom. Barack Obama sitting at the table, for example, planning what to do next would be a different scenario altogether.
Yeah.
Where, you could trust the judgment, trust the wisdom. Look, all of these are unprecedented situations, every single one of them for a president who has to make decisions like this, fateful decisions. And that's where kind of to use the cliche, the rubber meets the road for a global leader. And maybe it's not an American, Jody, maybe it's the Prime Minister of Canada, or one of the other European nations, or people that are running the European Union. There's some incredible people there, for example, from Scandinavia, but they're not in the play here.
Right.
For whatever reason, it's become an exclusive weirdness between Netanyahu and Trump. Two birds of a feather, and it's hard to trust them, and so we have a conflict, and both sides of the equation, Khomeini and the theocracy in Iran on the one hand, and Trump and Netanyahu on the other hand. That means that, like the fate of the world could be decided by this collection of unqualified misfits, angry, God knows what motivation, and this is what worries me.
Well, and the fact of the matter is, Iran is also giving weapons to Russia in the Ukraine, in the Russian invasion on Ukraine. So I don't think Russia wants this to happen either. So it's
no, and I think there was some expectation that Russia might even help Iran in their conflict with Israel and now the United States, where Iran would become another proxy for a U.S. Situation with Russia. But everything is day by day, Jody. You're noticing that's like whatever you felt yesterday, there'll be new developments and new statements that are kind of out of control by Trump, and very hard to make any kind of predictions here. For example, will the Russians stay out of this?
Right.
I don't know. Well, you know, who knows?
Well, because Iran could also cut off the oil to the planet. They could, very simply, if they felt like it.
And oil prices could go through the roof. Mm-hmm. And that would be devastating to a lot of economies, including the U.S. economy. So this is a game of five-dimensional dominoes where it's really, really difficult to predict outcome. And meanwhile, you know, for me and people like me, we're still worried about and consuming this kind of
that's a pretty sound.
Yeah. Who the hell's calling me? My brother,
put him on the
psychiatrist. You know, normally I would take a call from my brother's psychiatrist. You can't screw around with psychiatrists, but let me shut this off. Sorry about that.
No, that's okay.
Anyway, I was just saying that we're also consumed with these domestic issues.
Yeah.
Increasing craziness from Bobby Kennedy Jr. And by the way, I've been watching some of the Hegseth hearings. So we have just a series of insanities, domestic and international, and it's very hard for people like us to grasp it all at once. And that's where we are. It's a really tough moment for the United States. But yes, you know, just to go back to what you're saying about the price of oil, if the price of oil goes up and devastates the economy, that'll be good if we're looking through the lens of bad for Trump is good for the rest of us.
Right.
But it also would be bad for Americans, for all of us. So it's a very confusing time.
It is.
And
it is.
Trying to sort it out is complicated.
Now, you also wrote Russian attacks on civilian targets in Ukraine intensify. So we need everybody to help UCAP, which is your organization, to help people in Ukraine for and the mental health problems that a lot of these people are having. You said that the war continues to disrupt the mental health and education of their children in Ukraine. 1 in 5 have lost a loved one, and nearly 40% still learn remotely. So everybody, please give to UCAP if you can. Any and all amounts will help no matter what. Correct, sir?
Yeah, so, well, thank you. Thank you for that shout out. It's, you know, and what happens is when we're overwhelmed with issues, certain things that were front page yesterday become, you know, A12 now. And look, this is a problem that's not going away yet. I'm talking about Ukraine. We're going back there in September for our 8th trip, Karen and me. And look, we just have to kind of figure out how to do multiple things at once. And the Ukrainians need us.
Yes.
You know, they're still there defending our democracy as much as theirs. And they deserve better treatment and more attention from the United States government as well as its people. So
yes, absolutely. I'm with you 100% on that. So you also wrote about Robert Jr. Firing the entire 17-member immunization CDC advisory committee. And guess what they're about to do? They're about to vote on the fall flu shots. Yay!
Yeah.
COVID shots, they're not even going to vote on at this point. And we don't know who wrote the agenda, but basically the new advisors meet next week. They'll be taking up a longtime target of I didn't get flu shots until I turned 50. Like between about 16 and 50, I didn't get flu shots.
I started getting them in my 40s.
Yeah. And I started again in my 50s because I was traveling more and, you know, around people more.
Yeah.
So I started doing that. And obviously, I want to get another COVID shot, and I don't know if I'm I have a checkup in July, so I'm going to ask my doc if she can make sure that I get another COVID shot because it's been almost a year since my last one.
Yeah. I think, look, there's so much confusion now about vaccinations being sown by extreme right-wing anti-science, anti-vaxxers, which he's got a couple of staunch anti-vaxxers now on this new advisory committee. Mm-hmm. I think we're looking at some potential nightmare scenarios where vaccinations in general, immunizations in general, are being undermined by the highest level of the U.S. government. And, you know, it's just pathetic. And if you couple that with the fact that we have a complete disruption of medical science because of withdrawal of NIH grants, we're looking at a very grim future for the state of America's healthcare. And hopefully, you know, I'll tell you what the antidote to all this is, Joni, in my opinion. Mm-hmm. It's the freaking midterms.
Yes.
It's the midterms. It all boils down to whether we have the firepower on the Democrat side to take back at least one house of Congress. It will make an enormous difference.
Yes.
So whether we're talking about the situation in the Middle East, the budget issues and Medicaid and Medicare and protecting Social Security, or what's happening at the NIH, having at least one powerful break on what the MAGA agenda is, as manifest by Donald Trump and his Congress, that would be a huge accomplishment. So this is what I'm telling people. No matter what your issue is, focus on changing the leadership of the House of Representatives.
Absolutely.
Next year.
Hey, are you traveling this summer? Will you leave instructions for your house sitter, the name and number of your vet, maybe, the code to your alarm system? Think about the steps you take to prepare for vacation, and you'll get a sense of what goes into a knockbox. Just go to theknockbox.com, use the code Stephanie. Knockbox is a complete system that helps you organize all of your accounts, possessions, and estate plans for your next of kin. Each knockbox, that's NOKBOX, comes with a comprehensive checklist that helps ensure you add everything they'll need to manage your estate when you are gone. From your funeral directives to your insurance policies, even the keys to your storage unit, the Knockbox helps you organize it all. If you've got a household, you need a Knockbox. Right now, Stephanie Miller listeners save 16% off the Knockbox of your choice. Just go to theknockbox.com/Stephanie. That's theknockbox.com/Stephanie to get 16% off. Stay calm, get organized today.